Hello, I'm Griff and I'm in Humboldt Redwood State Park. Look how beautiful it is. Look how beautiful it is. I'm right next to Avenue of the Giants, so it might get kind of loud at times. But I wanted you guys to see the Ill River here. It's still got water in it. It's very low compared to how it usually looks, but that's all old growth redwood. The 4.6% of the old growth redwoods that's left on the planet, a lot of it is right here. It's a beautiful place, Humboldt Redwood State Park. Come visit sometime. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about how to help wildlife during a drought. I've had people in the park ask me, is there anything I can do to help wildlife? Here, because of the drought, here you don't really need to, because we don't have a lot of really busy roads and we don't have a lot of fences, so wildlife can move around to find water, okay, and food. There's been a lot less wildlife this year, insects, across the board, okay? And a lot of the creeks are drying up and it's terrible because it's killing salmon and stuff. But there's really nothing that we want you to do in the park. Where wildlife really need help is around the cities. And so that's kind of what I'm going to talk about today. So I'm going to talk about a few things you can do to help wildlife during the drought. But before I start there, I want to say happy California Biodiversity Week. California has its own Biodiversity Day holiday, which is so cool. September 7th is Biodiversity Day. And also, I just want to say thank you to all the firefighters out there. I used to be a firefighter. This is my second season not, responding to fires. I feel like I'm playing hooky or something. But thank you very much, firefighters, for being out there and risking your lives to protect ours. Appreciate it so much. So, a lot of people need help right now. A lot of wildlife need help right now. And I'm going to tell you how you can help wildlife. And I'm going to tell you the do's and don'ts of helping wildlife during a drought. And I'm sure a lot of this is going to be counterintuitive, like not what you thought, okay? First off, conserve water in your house. How does that help wildlife? Because in the West, we're having this terrible drought. In the West, we have all these reservoirs. And the more we draw down those reservoirs, the less water is available to wildlife. Look at Lake Mendocino. I used to live right next to Lake Mendocino. I just saw a picture of it. I was astounded at how dry it is. It looks like a canyon in the desert. So conserve water, and by conserving water, you're helping wildlife. Also, think of water differently. This is the Ill River right here, EEL River. And I'm mostly Ill River because I drink. All my water comes out of the Ill River. So I'm like a bag of mobile Ill River, okay? Because if you think about, we're like 80% water, so I'm 80% Ill River. That's my closest relative by weight. You done 23andMe and saw your closest relative was your mama or something like that, and then your cousins or whatever, brothers and sisters. This is your closest relative by weight, okay? And it's also the bears live around here. It's their closest relative. The deer, the flying squirrels, the banana slugs, that's their closest relative by weight. So in a way, these wildlife are my family. They're my cousins. It's kind of like what a lot of indigenous people all over the world, Celtic, my ancestors, the Native Americans here, believed that animals were and wildlife were family. And in this way, they really are. So we're all related to each other by the water we drink. Also, another thing you can do is a lot of people want to feed wildlife. Don't feed wildlife. I love people who want to feed wildlife because it means you're compassionate, and that's awesome, but it's not exactly the right thing to do. Planting native plants is, but I'm gonna get to that in a minute. A lot of us have seen videos where there's like a guy on a porch and he's surrounded by raccoons, and you're like, I would love that. And he's got tons and tons of raccoons, and it looks really cool, and I'm sure he's got a big heart, but that's not helping. When you attract a bunch of wildlife to your house, you're bringing them to your house, but you're bringing them to your neighborhood. And a lot of times they're going to go over your neighbors' houses that don't want a bunch of wildlife at their house. I do. I was jealous of Snow White when I was a little kid and I saw her. She had a bird on her hand and she had butterflies in her hair. And I thought about, I wish that was, I wish birds would come land on my hand. I have really long hair under this hat too. So if I let it out, butterflies landed all over it. And I was walking down, I could go like this and send a butterfly tornado coming and whirling away. I understand why people want to feed wildlife, okay? But it's really not helping. Biologists and stuff like that love people who are compassionate like you, but if you really want to help wildlife, stop feeding them. When we attract them into our area, we're subjecting them to diseases because they're congregating onto a little plastic bowl where diseases could accumulate, like all those birds that died last year of salmonella. Even my mom got salmonella from touching her bird feeder. A lot of birds died that way, and there's a disease that's killing deer that are also going to these small watering dishes. So if you live in a place where wildlife can access water, don't offer them any water. If you live in fragmented habitat, meaning if you got a bunch of fences and freeways around your house and you know the wildlife can't leave the little park and habitat around your neighborhood, then if you put out water, put it as far away from your house as possible and change it every day and clean that bowl. Because when animals come with their diseases, they're contaminating that bowl. Think about a doorknob, you know, or a door at the mall or something, like, and everybody's like, and then touching it, and you don't want to touch it. You're using your elbow, you're using your friend, push your friend to open the door. So make sure you get those and you disinfect them every day and refill it full of water. And that's how you can help wildlife if you live in a place where they're not going to be able to access it because of the fences and the freeways. So there's a lot of fragmented habitat out there, and those animals are in dire straits during droughts. Okay. Now, if you want to learn more about how to help wildlife, a good thing to do is to go to Animal Help Now, ahnow.org, and find a wildlife care center, the nearest one to you, and go volunteer for them, because a lot of them have trainings and stuff, and then you could be there. You could see why the wildlife are getting brought in from, you know, like cat kills or window strikes or diseases from bird feeders, and then you can learn how to help them and you can tell others. So that's a really super cool thing that you can do. So another thing you can do is plant native plants, because animals don't associate the native plants to you. So if you plant native grape and native huckleberry, the birds will fly through, they'll get that, and they won't associate that with you. Even like raccoons and possums, as they come through, they won't associate native plants with you because native plants are something they evolved with. But the pink bowl full of meow mix that's right outside your sliding glass door that Fluffy is sharing with an opossum, that's creating habituation. They lose their fear of humans, and that's how animals get hurt. And plus, they start having more babies because that food's really high protein. And then if you leave or stop feeding them or something happens, they have all these babies, and then there's a starvation event. So please find those of you who love wildlife. I love your compassion, but find other ways to help them besides feeding them. Plant native plants, volunteer at a wildlife care center or at one of your local state parks. Happy California Biodiversity Week, everybody. Stay safe. Thank you to you firefighters for keeping us safe. Have a good one.